Welcome to today's episode of Behind the Dish Softball with your hosts, Ashlie Rowley, Shelby Babcock, and Dr. Allie Dake. If you haven't done so, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And be sure to follow us on social media at Behind the Dish SB. Again, on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at Behind the Dish SB.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Dish Softball. I'm your co-host, Ashlie Rowley, along with Shelby Babcock and Dr. Allie Dake. Today, as promised, we are going to kick off our G.A.M.E.S mental performance strategy series, talking about goal setting. You have to understand why you love this game, why you play this game, and where you want to go with this game to be able to put that roadmap behind it. So Dr. Allie Dake is going to take the reins of this conversation as she's really going to lead us through this process that she's created with the G.A.M.E.S mental performance strategy. So Dr. Allie, kick us off, get us going here. We're excited for this.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, I guess. Oh, I say that every time. Darn it. Hi.
That's okay. It's a good morning.
It's a good morning for us.
Good morning.
So we're going to be talking about the G.A.M.E.S strategy. And today we're starting the series with the G, which is goals. And before we even start talking about our goals, it's really important that we understand the why behind what we're doing. Why do you go to practice? Why are you putting in the extra hours? If you're a pitcher and a catcher, you're doing extra agility work and footwork and all of those things that go into this when it becomes really, really hard. And the effort that you're putting in starts to become tedious and you get exhausted with it. So we always start with Level Up. We always start the why. And so before we even talk about the goals, I just want to spend a few minutes talking about the why. And a why statement has a what, a how, and the why in it. Simon Sinek, who is a known leader out in the world, generally in business and thought leadership and innovation, he has simplified the process of creating a why statement. And it's a formula that goes to, and then you fill in the blank, so that fill in the blank. So the to becomes the contribution part of what you're contributing to, and the so what becomes your why. So
give us an example.
Yeah, I will. So let's say you wanted to become better, do better footwork, so that when you're outfielder, you wanted more agile footwork so that you have more range of motion out there and can set up right. So you'd say, I want to become a better outfielder with good feet work so that I can have agility and move around as I need. That's very basic and simple, right? And you can get very specific with it in what you want to do. So I talked about outfield and footwork because that would be what I need to do. Or you could say, I want to become a better softball player because I want to go on and play in college. You can keep it generic or you can bring it really specific. So part of that so that statement, you can also bring that into your goals. But at the very, very top of everything we do, we need to know why we are playing. And I remember, Shelby, in one of the conversations we had prior, you talked about really realizing that the why you were there in college. It was when you came in as a pitcher, you were saying, I had to really form my why I was there. I was good at throwing these pitches and that's why I was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when I got to college, I, obviously the big stage and everything like that. And it was Arizona, right? And you wanted to go play on the big stage, big platform. But once you got there, it was a little bit different. And you had to figure out, why am I grinding? What am I doing this for? And why am I here? And I had to kind of go back to, I love this game. It wasn't a job for me. It was, I love to be here. I like to be with my teammates. I'm trying to win a national championship. And that was my why. And I had to go back to why I loved it. So that was big for me.
And you actually just said, you just said it. Sorry, forgot to put my phone on silent.
Oh, come on, Dr. Allie. Geez.
I know, airplane mode. There we go. I'm sorry. So you said it. You said, I love this game. And I had to learn to lean into that so that I could win a championship. So I could play in Arizona, right? And so
Absolutely.
that became your why statement. And I'm sure that's what started to carry you through. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and your why statement carries you through the hard, because let's be real, like not only in college softball, because I'll get to that story in a minute. In college softball, there's really, really, really hard moments, but also when you're playing travel ball, when you're playing high school ball. I mean, if we rewind about 6 months ago, we talked about how, in Colorado, high school season's in the fall, right? So our softball players come off of a grueling and kind of a grinding summer ball season, and they transition right in to high school ball in the heat of the summer. And so I saw so many athletes in high school, like they hit middle of that high school season and they were so gassed. They were exhausted mentally, physically, and they had to find that why.
You have to find that why.
Why am I doing this? I'm tired. It's exhausted. I'm exhausted. Do I like this right now? Like what's happening? And leaning into that why is what's going to get you through those really, really hard moments. So you have to define that up front, because this game will push, sports will push you, sports will challenge you, they will break you, and then they will build you back up. And let me tell you something, if you don't have a strong why and you want to play college ball, it's going to humble you real quick.
Quick.
Or back to our very first episode of our pie, right? Making sure that you keep that all balanced, right? And making sure that you kind of lean on those other aspects of your pie is also very huge.
Absolutely. And it all plays into that, because to the pie, if you don't know the why, you're putting all this time and dedication and effort into receiving whatever the reward is, the why you're doing it, the so what of the statement, then everything else in life starts to crumble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So we always start the goals. Kind of included in our goals is the why, which is really, really important. So I would encourage the listeners to know your why and to spend time working on that and really solidifying that, so that you can say it like in a 30-second. I am doing this because I want this. I'm going to do this so that I can blah, 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 whatever it is, so that you are absolutely know without a shadow of a doubt, like Ashlie said, I loved it. It carries you through the heart of it, right? It is absolutely what carries you through. And then when you have that, everything else will kind of fall into place. So then when we start to look at actual goals, and for this conversation, we're going to use a goal and set a goal for playing, right? We can always set goals for our life and in other places inside that pie that we need to, but for this conversation and kind of moving through the game system, we're going to use the game itself as the backdrop, not life things. So we're gonna carve out one slice of pie.
There you go.
It's gonna be softball. We're gonna take that piece out. We're gonna put it on our plate, and we're gonna focus on our softball slice of pie.
Right.
Love it.
Yeah.
So if you're kind of stuck, you start to think about all of these different things you want to accomplish in the game, like whether it's you're in your position or at bat, or as you said it so great, Shelby, and offensively and defensively set a goal. We don't ever want to set more than 2 goals, one for the position you're playing, your primary position, and or hitting. If you play 2 positions, then maybe you want to have 2 goals there, but honestly, we want to be able to stay focused. And when I go over the steps of how to accomplish goals, you're going to see why. You want to be able to stay focused. And if inside the game, you have 10 goals you're trying to meet all at once, you aren't going to be able to keep your mind clear mentally to even stay focused in the one that you need to. So if you are looking at this and like, okay, well, I want to be a better hitter. I want to be able to, whatever it is that you want to do, and you're having challenges just picking one, I recommend what we call a SWOT, which is, and I have a form, we're going to upload it onto the website so that you can download it and you can go through this. And a SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
You're speaking my marketing language now.
I know. It's the same thing out of business that we bring right into the game, right? Yep. And it's a great concept. And there's other systems out there to look at, to take a snapshot of something. But I really like this one because it's very, very simple, direct, and easy. And so what you will do, and we'll have instructions on there so that you can read and understand more of this, that you would look at the game. You could take the last game you played and kind of look at, or if you're want to look at this last season you had, what were your strengths? write down all of your strengths in the box, right? And then you would write down all your weaknesses. Where do you feel you're weak? Then you would take
areas to improve, right?
Or areas to improve. Yes. Yes. The W stands for weakness.
I know.
Area to improve. And then you would take your area of opportunity, and that could be opportunity for growth, opportunity that you have. Maybe you want to change position and you'd like to have that opportunity. And then anything that feels threatening to you. Oh, well, maybe somebody's new on the team and they just came on and now I have to work harder to keep my position because that person's coming on. There could be variances, and I've seen variances of threats that people feel inside that game that can motivate you. And then what you want to do is we want to move the opportunities and the threats. We want to move them over into strengths. Okay. And move upon that. And when you have this form and you start to look at it, it will become very clear to you as you start to look at the themes that are on that page of what you need to work on. And that's how you can help you set the goals, because you want to, like I said, you only want one, maybe two goals to have at a time.
Yeah. And I want to, if you've never set goals before, it's not something that you just sit down and say, okay, my goal is to be this. It takes time you got to think about it. You have to be intentional. Yes. I mean, and I know you're going to get into this, Dr. Alley, but if you're going to set a long-term goal, you've got to have daily short terms that are going to get you to that long term, right? Yeah. So when you set your long-term goal, like Shelby, you talked about winning a national championship, or if your long-term goal is playing college softball, right? You have to sit down and say, what do I really want out of this game? Why am I had a hitter that comes in on Tuesday mornings at 6 a.m. All right, kiddo, why are you coming in at 6 a.m.? So that I can play college softball. That's your why, right? Mm-hmm. That's why she's grinding it, coming in at 6 a.m. and swinging, in my facility when it's dark. That's her why. And you've got to feel so strongly about that. But setting a goal, it's not just easy. You can't just sit down and go, boom. If you're new to it, understand there's going to be a process that requires you to think about it and be intentional about setting those goals.
Right. And for this next series, what I'm hoping and aiming for is that we can get a player to set a goal for this upcoming season. Let's not focus on a really long term. That can be a part of your why, because I want to play in college, because I want to be on this comp team, because I want to make varsity, whatever I want to move in, whatever the why is that you're playing right now, you can have that, but let's find a shorter term goal for this season that you can improve on, and that you can have measurable success at the end of the season when you look back and say, oh, wow, look, I actually strategically sat down and made a goal, and I put practice to it, and I put intention behind it, and I was very, very specific, and I accomplished it. Actually, I remember when you said you got into and you were playing and you were, thought you were all that, and you were throwing the ball, and your catching coach came up and said, oh, no. How many weeks did you spend just learning how to throw that ball? Remember?
Yeah. Little do you know, you're at the University of Florida, but you don't know how to throw a ball. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
8 weeks. Yeah. That would have been nice to know when I was 12. Yeah. 8 weeks. I had to learn how to throw
8
all
weeks.
over again.
Right. And then you finally accomplished that goal and everything it took to get in there. Right.
Yep.
And that was kind of maybe pressed upon you, but you made it a goal. And
you're not allowed to pick up a softball ever again unless you fix your spin. Cool. Well, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, they did that with me at the University of Arizona with the rise ball. And because I had like more curvy spin on it, and they backed me up to straight spins, and then I had to go to halfway, and then I had to go to like my K position, and then I had to go to the mound. If it was not perfect until I got back to the mound, it was short. It was my short-term goals like that. Okay, I'm going to get 50 from this spot here. Then I'm going to get 100 from this spot here. Okay. And then I'm going to try to get just 10 off the mound with some 12-stick spin, so that I have correct movement on my rise ball to make sure that I can throw this in a game correctly. And that was my main goal. Is like, I want to throw a rise ball in this game. And that was my short-term goals to get to that game. So all those short goals to get to that big goal is, super important. They all led off of each other.
And so that's what I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
We're all geeking out.
So that's what I'm talking about, is finding a really specific goal in something that you want to move into a strength.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So inside of that SWOT, the opportunity to move something into a strength, or because maybe you have the opportunity to try a new base, a new position this upcoming season, right? And so you want to increase your skill set and keeping that base, or maybe there's something that you're feeling weak or need improvement on. And so you're going to move that into a strength, right? So get really, really specific and use that chart to find out what it is. And then use these next few steps I'm going to outline for you to move into accomplishing it. Ashlie, what were you going to say?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think shoot, I lost it. What I was going to say, though, what I was thinking about, and I don't remember if this is what I was going to say, but, we talked about that first episode with Coach Mal Poyar about a vision board, right? Creating a vision board, whether you do it on January 1st or whether you do it on your birthday. I know, Dr. Allie, you like to do it on your birthday, but it's the goals for that year. So with my athletes in my academy, the idea is you create this vision board and you put yourself on New Year's Eve of 2022 this year, right? And look back and say, who do I want to be in that moment? What do I want to have accomplished? Right. And those are those short-term goals. Now, in my mind, the way that I do goal setting and I teach goal setting, we talk about short-term and long-term, right? It depends on context. Long-term, let's just say you have an athlete who's in middle school or high school. Their long-term goal is to play college softball. Cool. That's that end goal, right? When we talk to this game. Now on your vision board, when we talk in relatively to that long-term play college softball, the vision board is an annual goal, so that's short-term. But if we want to accomplish what's on that vision board, now we're going to pair that back to daily goals. Right? One thing that you touched on, Dr. Allie, a couple times, and you may be going through this here soon, so I'm sorry if I steal your thunder, is that concept of SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, timely. Right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
but I have a twist on that because and those of us listening that understand what a SMART goal is, the part that it starts talking about the timestamp, that puts a high level of expectation on this, and I want to deflate that expectation, and that's what I'm going to go through right now.
Pop that bubble, girl.
I want to pop that bubble because that is where I see people crash. That's where I end up with girls one-on-one in coaching sessions because they have set. So I'm kind of going into it. You set a goal, and then when they don't reach it or they didn't accomplish something in their mind, and when it has a hard date, there's this level of expectation and they start to spiral down. So I don't believe in expectations. I believe in goals because goals have adjustableness. So that's the only thing that with SMART that I have a challenge with, because I see it collapse people because they put this high level that they have to achieve it.
It's so true. I mean, and we're wired this way, right? And I tell my kids all the time, like, if you didn't achieve a goal today, it doesn't mean you suck at life and you should go play tennis. It means we make an adjustment on what we're going to do tomorrow,
right?
How we can take a better approach.
So I feel like and that's what we're about to go through is when we set goals or not, this is not an expectation. This is a moving target, right? Yeah. And so this is something that we're achieving and working and aiming for. So we kind of already touched on the first step in this goal making process is to be specific, intentional. I would like to see everybody set a goal for the next 90 days to work on to improve their game in a short-term goal. So we've kind of said if it is getting better footwork, it's getting spin and not speed, as Shelby says, right? Or it's
I'm just gonna keep saying that.
Yeah, hitting right middle center, whatever your goal is, we're gonna focus on it really intently over the next 5 weeks anyway, and we're going to carry that through this whole entire system. But I'm challenging you for a 90-day game and 90-day goal games to be really specific and live into 1 or 2 goals specifically to improve your game this season. Right?
So I mean, if you're talking 90 days, we're in beginning of May. So
and that's going into it. So the work that you're about to put in and everything you're going to do, the season starting, whether it's varsity or it's comp season for some of us, you will have this goal going into it and moving forward, and you will be able to see results. Okay.
And that ties us back to the episode we did with Katie Dack, the work you put in the off season, that preparation.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. The second thing is that when we set a goal, we need to keep in mind about the reward that you're going to receive. And we already talked about this right in the beginning. You set a goal and all of a sudden it becomes hard and there's effort. And if you start to focus on that effort, if this was your goal, like you have a baseline goal, you start to spiral down. And all of a sudden, all of these obstacles, excuses, all of these things start to come in and sway you. So you have to set a reward. Now, some people need a candy bar. Some people need a new t-shirt. Some people want a new glove. I don't know. Some people just need to know that they accomplished it. So you know yourself, and whatever reward you need, whether it's tangible or intrinsic, whatever it is, you need to attach a reward to this goal.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a wrench in this. You ready?
Yeah.
If you don't want to put in the effort to achieve your goals, you don't want it bad enough.
Nope.
Your why is not strong enough.
Your why.
And I love what you're saying, and I know where you're going with it. But if you need a reward to achieve your goal that's going to better you, you don't want it bad enough.
Right.
And that's, I mean, and I still have kids that are coming in my academy that are walking in my door who haven't done their vision boards yet. Oh, I've been so busy. Have you been so busy? How many hours are you spending on TikTok? How many hours are you spending on Instagram? If you come in here and tell me that you want to play college softball, yet you can't find the time to set your goal and put in the effort, you don't want it bad enough.
But so I'm going to push back on that just a little bit, because what you're going to learn, what you are going to learn, and which is probably a little bit unfair, is that when you come into Level Up, there's an assessment you take, and we get to learn about you and who you are. There are people who are intrinsically rewarded. Ashlie and Shelby, that's you too. But there are some people that you're very reasonable and you're self-directed, but there are people who don't reason it. They need something from their heart. They need that carrot. And that doesn't mean that they want it less. Now, if somebody's not doing their vision board, that's on them, right? That's them not taking your mentoring and your coaching seriously and not understanding the process. That's on them. But when we talk about truly goal setting, there are people who need that carrot. They really, really do. And it doesn't have to be something big. It can be something small, but they know what it is. And I agree 100% that why is still driving it, and it's setting that goal and knowing, but the why is also a very long-term goal. It's the vision out there. So there are those people who are intrinsically motivated, and there are those that are tangible, and they just need something. They just need something, right?
Well,
I mean, would you go to work and keep working without a paycheck? No. We need
totally not apples.
Well, let's not wait a minute.
Apples. Don't even. But
I'm saying that there's people who volunteer their whole entire lives, and they do that because they're intrinsically rewarded. So,
well, yeah, absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shelby.
And I was talking to you about this with your vision boards too, is you're like, why still have people that haven't come in with them yet? And I'm like, well, man, I put 50 burpees on the line for if they didn't come in with their vision board, they were going to do.
There's a motivation,
right? But
so
that's more like a consequence.
Yeah,
Shelby's the hard assest of them. I'm in the middle, and Dr. Allie's the soft place to land.
No, I am absolutely meeting the person where they are.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Right. Yeah. And that's my job. Is my job is whatever their goal is becomes my goal. And so it's also my job from a psychological perspective to feed in what they need. So.
And that's where it's important to know your athletes.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, and as a coach, you've got to know your athletes. You have to know what motivates each one of them individually. And really in my career, I struggled with that as a coach because I couldn't figure out why everyone didn't love it and want it as much as I did. I'm a very much, I'll run through the wall for something, right? That's just how I'm wired. And others aren't like that. And you're right. It doesn't mean they love it less. It's just, you have to coach each athlete and figure them out and know them and know what motivates them. And it's hard. It can be hard.
Yeah. And if you're a coach listening, this game system works. And we have a whole approach on how to coach the team through the games, right? Because then you have all these different personalities right in front of you and intrinsically rewarded and blah, blah, blah. So it does become, you have to know the individual and you have to know the team. So, and then the next step is that only have 1 or 2 goals that you're working on for that season. What we know is and I'm not talking about life, not having life goals, because you would still have life goals and other things, but for your game, to stay mentally on it and to stay in that flow of the game so that you're not holding on to things, you can let things go. If you have more than 2 goals in mind ever at a time, you can't focus. And how many of us, and for those of us that drive, have like had our mind set on where we're going, and we just have to get there, and we've got all these things going on in our head, and we get there and all of a sudden there's like, oh, did I drive here? That's because we had too much going on. You weren't focused on the present, right? And so part of learning how to stay in the flow is letting things go. And if we have too much in our head, we have too many goals, then we can't stay focused in the game. And so the goal to accomplish is the goals that you set, right? Without that level of expectation. And so that's not to say even that if you have 1 or 2 goals and halfway through a season, you've accomplished it, then we teach you how to reset and set a new goal, right? That you really want to have. And I love that, Shelby, you're right, one offensively and one defensively. Or you could have 2 offensively. It just depends upon the position you're playing and what your need is for that game. Okay.
Well, we talk about in my academy a lot, and your goals are kind of peeling back the layer of the onion, right? And so when you started off this episode, forgive me, the to do X, I have to do Y or whatever, right?
2X, so that blank. So use your contribution and kind of that I can achieve achievement, right? Yeah.
So when my athletes come in, I'll ask them, okay, what's your mental goal today? What's your physical goal, right? And a lot of them they'll give me the goal. And if it's not focused enough, I will ask them, by doing what? So here's an example. I want to hit line drives today. By doing what? What can you physically control that will help you hit line drives today? Because when you show up and say, I want to hit line drives, well, you have to do something to be able to do that. So what's that focus going to be? You don't just show up and say, I'm going to hit line drives, right?
Right.
So if I keep my barrel, if I attack the inside seam, keep my barrel through the ball, that's my goal that I can control. That's going to get me to that result of hitting a line drive.
Exactly. And again, that comes back to like having that 1 or 2 goals in a game. I mean, even John talked about a couple of episodes ago how he walked around Chicago saying his goal out loud, which we're going to get to about affirmations and transitions and all that later. But right now we're just focused on that goal. So 1 to 2 goals. All right. And then here's where people fall short is they don't stick to it. They don't stick to the plan. Right. And so one of the steps in achieving your goal is you create this plan, you're intentional with it, right? You're going to get your language down. We work on really solidifying that goal and getting the right positive language around it. And then you stick to it. All right.
Even when it's
a process.
Hard.
Leaning back into that way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Even when it's hard, even when you're tired, even at 10 o'clock at night, or you're exhausted and you have to come later, you have to do those affirmations. You have to do that mental visualing. You still have to stick to this goal. Right? And you have to commit to it.
And some goals may take longer than others, and that's okay. Everyone moves at their own pace.
And that is okay. Yes.
And that comes back to that smart and taking out the expectation, which is actually the next one I was going to talk about, is that this is your goal. This isn't anybody else's goal. So the timeline is on you, not on your coach, not on a teammate, not on the parent, not on any extra coaches that you have. It is on you. And so if you stick to a plan, you commit to yourself and you stick to that plan, then you will accomplish it when you get there. Okay. I like to put out 90 days to create that habit. Right. I'm kind of I want to put out a 90-day challenge, not because you have to accomplish it in 90 days, but to get in that process. Because if you do this for 90 days, your habit's going to be there. And the next time you set a goal, it will come around. Right. You'll be able to do it faster and faster and become more focused and focused. Because what happens is also, and we already talked about it a little bit, that obstacles start to show up. life, other things start to come in. You know, I set a goal. I'm going to work out. I'm going to work out 4 or 5 days a week, right? I have a 5th day in there that I have a flex day because of my schedule. It's so easy to like, oh, I'm tired today and it's only the 3rd day, I'm not going to go, right? Because, I've got 5 phone calls I have to make, or I have this now, or I didn't get my vision board done because I'm so tired and I've got this and blah, TikTok got in the way. So you have to be very cognizant of those things coming to you. And when you commit yourself to a goal and you know that why, those obstacles that come up won't become obstacles. You just like Ashlie said, she's just going to run right through that wall, right? Nothing's going to stop you from accomplishing it.
Yeah.
Right. Nothing can eliminate it.
Right.
Unless you let it. It's your goal, not anybody else's, right?
Absolutely.
Well, and kind of back to that too. I've been noticing, excuse me, a few of my girls coming in and just off of like social media and stuff, and them looking at other girls, maybe hitting a new speed or, perfecting this mechanic correctly, or, you know, doing that kind of stuff. And I've had a few of them come in and get kind of like gun shy just because they see other girls kind of getting their goals. And I just, for any players listening or coaches or parents, anything, I can't stress enough that every girl goes at their own pace. Not every player is the exact same person, or they don't have the exact same goals. And it's okay to move slower, and it's okay to be a different type of pitcher or a different type of hitter or infielder, or your attitude's different. It's okay to do that. And I just wanted to stress that a lot, because I feel like that's been one point with some of my girls that come in and they're just like, well, I'm not doing this and I'm not doing that. And I'm like, let's change that a little bit, and let's be a little bit more positive, and let's go after what you can control and what you can do and what you're doing as a player. So that's just something I wanted to.
It's important to acknowledge, though, the growth that they have seen.
Yeah,
right. So
exactly.
they may not be there yet, but say, where were you 2 months ago? Where were you 6 months ago? Now look at where you are now. You're not even that same athlete. So while you may be upset right now because you're not at that goal, I want you to so let's take a little trip down memory lane and see where you started to how far you've come.
Like
so
your highlight reel.
Yes, have that growth mindset. You've got to acknowledge what you have done and know that you are going. I don't care if you're a jackrabbit or a turtle. As long as you're moving forward, that pace doesn't matter because it's your own.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly. And Shelby, that's so right that everybody has their own growth. So this isn't a time stamped thing. If it takes you all season to accomplish the one goal you're setting, that's okay. You're working towards it every single day. And the game system is going to teach you how to come back and evaluate it, and how to improve it, and how to build upon it, and how to verbalize and visualization, all of that. Okay. So don't worry about that so much right now. We really want to get you into a goal that you can work towards this season. And another thing that's really important is no outside voices. No outside voices. When you set this goal, it's yours. It's yours to accomplish, and it's yours to hold the boundaries around. So if you choose to share that goal with anybody and they try to give you an opinion of how you should do it, or how you need to block that off, and not on the how to do it, because maybe it's a mechanical thing and your coach is giving you that. But if they're like, no, you should actually have this as your goal, or that's a silly goal, a teammate kind of cuts it down. Stop it right there. All right. You don't have to share your goal with anybody except for those that maybe are going to help you in the process achieve the goal. So that could be your pitching coach, your fielding coach, your main coach, your hitting coach, whatever your goal is associated with that person. Right. And that's it. If you feel like you don't want any other person to put in any other opinion to it, you don't need to share it. It's yours. Because what happens is, by nature, some of us will set our goal and then somebody will come along. Oh, I set that goal and I couldn't ever get it. All of a sudden now, and you're going to learn this later in the system, you've now taken somebody else's emotion and attached it to your goal. And you just told your mind, because you let yourself hear it, that you can't accomplish it. You associated with it, and it's not yours to associate. This is your goal only. Right. So we want to keep those other voices outside so that you're uninfluenced by that. All right.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And then there's a couple more. Procrastination. If you procrastinate to start this process with the goal, you'll never achieve it. Right. Yeah. And it's easy to procrastinate. It's really easy to sit and look at my SWOT. Like, I'll do all of the parts for it, but I never really set it into action. Right. I'm guilty. I've done that. Everybody does it.
I think
right?
we all are. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I have one, I let something slip through the other day and now I'm backtracking, trying to catch it back up. Right. So no procrastination. You have to be on top of it. You have to know the why and your goal and what you're going to do to accomplish that goal. You have to.
Well, and let's be real. Setting a goal to accomplish a goal, it takes work. It
does.
You can't just set a goal and it's going to happen because I set a goal. You have to work for it, and you have to hold yourself accountable. If you have a goal, and I'm just going to take, because it's February and New Year's resolutions have probably already fallen off by now. If you have a goal,
That's why we use our birthdays.
Yeah.
If you set a goal of getting healthier, okay, and you have not worked out, and you just downed a bag of cookies, and you're like, well, dang it, I'm not losing any, my pants are still tight. Like, well, no kidding. You haven't done anything to work for it. Shelby, you had a goal of being able to throw your rise ball in a game. Well, if you didn't do 50 spins every single day from each stage of your motion, you're not going to achieve that goal.
Nope.
You can't just pick it off of a tree because you set the goal. You have to work for it.
You have, and that goes back into being intentional, right?
Yep.
Because it's something also that's just kind of loosey goosey out there, that it has to be something near and dear to your heart. That's why I loved how Ashlie said that. Like, you have to, it becomes the heart of all of this, right? And that why. And so procrastinating, you won't ever get it accomplished if you procrastinate. So don't spend time and in being intentional and selecting the goal and getting it really concrete so that it is something that you will work for. Okay. And the last one that's really important is the way that we word our sentences. It's so important. If I set a goal and I said, and I'm just going to make up something, I don't want to let any pass balls by. The way you just set up that sentence structure, you just told your brain that you're going to let pass balls because it's a double negative inside the sentence. It has to be set in a positive sentence structure. And not to get all grammatical like school on you, but you have to set it in a positive sentence structure. I will stop every ball. Right? Yep. There's a huge, huge difference between I will stop every ball or I don't let any stop balls. Right?
I always tell my kids, tell yourself what you're going to do versus what you're not going to do.
What you're going to do is so important.
And this is for coaches too, the way that you talk to your players. You probably were getting there, Allie, but yeah.
I wasn't going there.
Don't walk a batter. Okay, thanks.
I'm trying to
throw balls over here.
I'm trying to stay focused really for our players right now. And coaches, if you're listening, you can hear this and you can adapt it. I work with a lot of coaches. In fact, I'm going over to Salt Lake tomorrow and I'm working with a group of coaches over there. And that's one of the things that we always talk about. How are you forming your sentence structure? What does it sound like coming out of your mouth? How are you setting it up so that it's like a subliminal positive message into your player's mind, right? Especially in the moment of intensity, really.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Here's some of my favorites. Don't strike out.
Sorry to detour that.
No,
don't swing the rise ball, right?
Yeah.
Don't mess up.
Yeah,
so
all of those.
And here's a really good example. So if let's say Shelby's throwing and she's throwing her wicked rise ball, instead of don't swing at the rise ball, what am I going to do? I'm going to see the ball down in the zone. I'm going to look for the ball down in the zone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, you will. And I always use this as an example is, as a parent, you give your kids a big bowl of spaghetti and sauce and you say, go put this on the table. Or do you say, if you say, don't drop this, right? And you're telling them to put it on the table, put this on the table, don't drop it. You just told their brains to drop it. You have to tell them what you want to do because you don't want that spaghetti all over that floor, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing in concept in playing the game, right? And, often I have girls that say, well, the ball's coming at me and I missed it last time and all I could think about is missing it again. And this goes into that mentalizing and practicing visual and all of that later, which is going to come. But so it starts clear back here in your goal, in what you want to improve, in the way you set up the sentence. We're being intentional with your goal. You're moving through this and keeping yourself with 1 or 2 goals. You are creating a plan and you're sticking to it. You're going to remove all obstacles because you know your why and you want to accomplish this. You're letting expectations go so that you can accomplish this on your timeline, right? And no outside voices, and you're moving forward right now, like, let's get this done. So why would you set it up to say it to yourself, which is going to come next, affirmations? Why would you put it into a negative? Next week, we will talk more about how to create the positive sentence structures and how I use that in a game and how I move through. So I don't want to spend too much time on that, but know that inside your goal, we're going to change it. Go ahead and create it, but know that we will move it into a positive sentence structure. And if you have a little bit of challenge with that this week, working on your goal, don't worry, it's coming. Oh, see, I just said it. See, we speak with it all the time, right? It just slips out. So
Awesome.
That's basically it when it comes to goals. Throughout the games process, we will learn how to come back and evaluate and tweak and move and modify and adjust. That's why sometimes I like to keep it fluid and open in that goal. We get it going. And sometimes as you start to play the game, you might have to adjust and bend. And so might have to move the timeline a little bit. And that's part of the evaluation that's coming later. And so right now, really spend time doing the SWOT, and that will be downloadable from our website. And the why statement. And I have a form for you to do on that too. So you can take notes and create it and keep playing with it and tweak it and see the iterations that you're going to make with it. And know that that's also a moving target. It's also a moving statement. It's flexible, it's fluid, because your why could be right what it is today. And in a year, it could be completely different, right?
And that's good. That's good.
That's okay. That's growth. That's change. That's what you want, right? If you don't, and it's not fluid, then you're setting an expectation on yourself, and and expectations set you up to fail. So we want to make it a fluid, moving, and goal-oriented.
Absolutely.
Process, okay.
Things change, things happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I changed my major in college, and I'm doing good still. So we're good.
We made it.
It's just sometimes it just changes. Absolutely.
Yes.
It just changes. It's like a t-shirt. You put it on one day, you love it. The next day, you're like, what the heck? It's the same thing. It's the same
Exactly. Exactly. Well, super exciting episode today. I loved all of that, Dr. Allie, and loved talking with you, Ashlie, about that. You can go and find the downloaded the goal sheet on behindthedish.us. And then you can also find this podcast on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of that fun stuff, on any platforms to watch podcasts as well. So we were super excited to have you guys here today, and we will see you next episode. Have a good day.
For affirmations. I love it.
Yes.
Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Go conquer those goals. Create them. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for spending your time with us today. We appreciate the opportunity to get to share our experiences and knowledge with you. If you haven't had a chance yet, please hit that subscribe button so you can tune in on future episodes, and be sure to follow us on social media at Behind the Dish SB for future episode information and guests. Make it a great day.